I question many things that were said and done. You tried to hold us back and never thought your plan would crash. Day by day, it's all the same lies, intention of demise. There's nothing left for us to say. Time to hit the ground and run away. Now is the time.
There we are. Welcome back. And Top's Metal Show. And today we have Blacktop Mojo's guitarist, Chuck, with us today. We're not really here to focus on Blacktop Mojo. Chuck, you have some new music out. A great new song. We just heard a little bit of it there.
Thank you.
So welcome to the show. I guess, Hop, you want to take over here and get started with the questions, or?
Well, I mean, everybody knows, I guess, that you're from Blacktop Mojo, but do you want to let everybody know what got you started and how you ended up in Blacktop Mojo and what you're doing now? Kind of summarize a little bit.
Well, I really started with hard rock and metal bands in the Midwest, mainly playing in Chicago bands for, I'd say, at least 12 years. And then I kind of quit doing like the original thing, the touring thing, for a while because I just got kind of burnt out on it and everything like that. And my last band, we signed a bad record deal and stuff like that. So after that, I was just like completely just kind of burnt out and kind of wanted to take a break. And then our old manager reached out and told me about Blacktop. And I actually knew who Blacktop was prior because I heard him on the local radio station here. I heard Where the Wind Blows. And it really stood out to me because, first of all, it was a great song. And Matt's vocals were killer. I'm like, who is this? And that's kind of how I got into them, you know. So when he called me, the old manager, he put me in touch with Nathan, and, you know, we hit it off and stuff. And, you know, the rest is really history. But that's kind of like a quick timeline of everything.
I won't kid you, Chuck. That's where I stumbled onto him on YouTube and heard Dream On, and I'm like, yeah. And you guys have become one of my favorites, maybe my favorite current day group.
Thank you. Yeah, it like I said, I was blown away when I heard Where the Wind Blows, and that's actually still one of my favorite songs to play live. I don't really get sick of it.
It's so I'll get off the Blacktop but I need to say it. I mean, one of the things I've seen is I don't have the EP, but I've got all four of the full albums on CD. And the first one I like, the second one I like a little bit better. Under the Sun I really like, and the newest one, the fourth album, is probably my favorite. And I told Hop and String that I don't know that I can point to any group that I've liked them progressively more. Usually it's the freshman or the sophomore album that's kind of the pinnacle, and then kind of like, nah. That's not been the case so far. I mean, shit, Rewind might be one of my favorite songs ever.
Cool.
And Woman's pretty powerful too.
Yeah, we had a great time making that record. And me and Ryan Kiefer, at the time when he was in the band, him and I, we tracked a lot of our solos by ourselves at our home studios and stuff. So we had a good time with that. And we did like the meat and potatoes in Nashville, like the bass, rhythm guitars, and drums there, and some vocals. And then we just did the rest remotely, which I had a good time doing because I could take my time. I could sit on the parts before I sent them over to our producer. So
very, very cool.
Good times.
All right. Well, so we'll get into the more recent stuff, I guess.
Sure.
You've actually released a new song, Falling Down. That's your newest one. Looks like you have several other ones on YouTube that people, and Spotify too, I believe, that people could go check out. I highly recommend doing that. But let's focus on Falling Down at the moment. Like, so how long had you been working on that song? And I guess give us a little bit of rundown on the song itself.
Well, it took me about because I write, record, mix, and master everything that I do, and that's quite a process. So
I'm sure.
The song's about like a leader, somebody who thinks he's a leader, and he's really not, and he's dragging other people down. But I try to make it relatable to everybody, so everybody can relate. And it's about no one in particular. But yeah, so anyways, it took about, I would say, a week to do, like all the, like with recording it, editing and all that stuff, putting the drums in there, synths. So it's quite a process. That's why I usually just do like a single at a time, because I'm doing every single thing. So there's no like team behind, like editing team. There's no mixing team or mastering team. It's just me. So yeah, but it's a fun time.
So how hard on yourself are you? Do you find doing it all yourself? Like you might criticize your work and maybe mess with it a lot longer than probably you should, or you kind of get, what you want, and it's a pretty easy process for you as far as getting it out and getting it down?
I'm really hard on myself. And I try to be as honest as I can with myself when it comes to that, because you gotta be, if you want people to get into it and dig it, and you gotta be, like, as far as doing takes and stuff like that, you got to make sure they're tight takes, tight vocal takes, everything, drum takes. But I'll sit on something for like a week or two just to make sure, and I'll send it to some friends in the industry and stuff, to get their opinion, to see if they have any suggestions. So that's kind of the process. It's pretty simple.
So are you doing all the? Are you playing all the instruments then and everything?
Yep. So I'll start with I'll start with a click track on my DAW digital audio workstation, and I'll just record like the riff. I'll start with the riff, and then I'll put some drums along to it, and then bass, and then after that, put like production in there, like synths or like shakers, tambourines, all that, ear candy I call bling, and then tackle the vocals. And my wife happens to be an accomplished vocalist, so I'll get her opinion on stuff, and she's helped me with like melodies too in the past, and so it's a pretty good system. But it's it's an easy process for me, yet long. So.
Now,
well, I'm sure they'll just go ahead, Wes.
Your wife's in the Wicked Woman video, right?
That's actually Kat's girlfriend.
Okay.
But she actually did the audio. So she did the audio. So that's her on the record. But Kat's girl's the actor in the video.
Got it. Okay. Had the two confused. I apologize.
No, it's all good. They both had a good time being involved. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, it's kind of nice to have it, a little bit of somebody there that you can actually ask, like,
Yep.
And it's not somebody you have to email back and forth. You got somebody there pretty much right beside of you saying, all right, I like this, but I feel like it needs something. You kind of get a little second opinion on things. So that's pretty cool.
You have to. There's other guys out there that do like what I do, like Trent Reznor style, do everything. You got to get another set of ears. Otherwise, it's just, it's tough. It can be done, but you got to have your buddies listen to it that you can trust,
Yeah.
Or your significant other, I should say. So,
so real quick, was she upset when Nathan shot you in the video?
Yeah.
Well,
my mother didn't like it too much.
Okay, right?
She laughed, but my mother didn't like it too much. But it's funny because, like, when we did that, he didn't even point the gun at me. Like, those were two separate shots.
Sure.
And that shot actually took like 4 or 5 times because I went through like 4 t-shirts, white t-shirts, and I had like a pump in me with fake blood and an air compressor. And we couldn't get the shot right for the longest time. But yeah, it was fun. It was like, I want to say it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. That video took, I want to say like 48 hours to make, and we were in the woods in the middle of nowhere in East Texas. So, with the bugs and stuff, but it was a good time. When it was over, we were all like just jumping for joy because we can go home now. So,
when he was talking about having a second opinion, I think that was Axl Rose's problem on Chinese Democracy. He didn't have a second opinion. That took what? Look how long it took to release that album.
Like 16 years, 15 years.
Crazy.
And, you know, about that record, I actually think that record's a really good record, but to me, it's another band, you know?
Yeah.
Like the playing on there's killer, like Robin Fink and Buckethead. They have some killer guitar solos on there, let alone songs. So I'm trying to think of the song, one of the songs on there. There Was a Time, like the solo in that song is just so well written. But it's not, it's a different band. So
yeah, it's a completely different band.
But, you know, I'm glad Slash and Duff are back with them.
Very much.
Yeah,
so,
I think everybody is.
Yeah. So
I would rather see Slash and Miles. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it.
Well, he's doing both successfully, so that's
good.
Yeah. For my money, I'll go see Miles sing well and not piss me off in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I like Axl and everything, but if you go see Miles, he'll show up on time.
Yeah.
But I saw Guns N' Roses probably 5 years ago, right when Slash and Duff came back, and like the show was on time, and he sounded phenomenal. He sounded awesome, and he played for like 3.5 hours. And 3.5 hours for, you know, a band that's a little bit older, that's pretty damn good, I should say. I mean, that's impressive, and he nailed it. He was awesome.
Yeah, so, they were good both times I saw him here recently.
Yeah.
So Hop and String, you'll remember this better than me. I feel like Jeff Rhodes with Them Damn Kings, he does kind of the same thing, right? That he plays everything, does the mixing and whatnot. So
yeah, I think he had help with the drums, but pretty much all the production and stuff, I think he was doing that all on his own.
Gotcha.
So it's a very talented thing.
I started as a drummer. A lot of people don't know. And I don't consider myself a good drummer. I'm not Nathan by any means. But I can kind of, I guess, BS it a little bit. And I'll do a bunch of different takes, too. And if I can't get something, I'll program it. But I'm just trying to get the point across. I'm not trying to, you know, be, you know, Neil Peart or, you know, Dave Lombardo. So
I think you're pretty good. I mean, the stuff I listen to, you could definitely tell it wasn't a drum machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to keep it modern sounding, but also I want it to sound like a band, you know, because there's a lot of recordings out there. It sounds like the drums sound really clicky, and for some stuff that works, like death metal. I mean, for the really heavy stuff, you need that sound in order for it to cut through. But for like the harder rock stuff that I do, hard rock, borderline metal, I mean, you want it to kind of sound like a drummer. So
yeah.
Well, I think you pulled that off very well. Everything all the songs on the YouTube that I was listening to were just full on, just, you know, killer
mixed
stuff.
Well and everything.
Yeah, mixed very well.
Thank you. And that, you know, mixing and mastering, I'm still learning. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, but I've never done it as like a full-time thing. It's been kind of a hobby of mine. And during the pandemic, you know, nobody was allowed to tour. The world was shut down. So I just kind of took time, and I studied production under URM Academy. It's my buddy Joe Wanasek. Shout out to Joe Wanasek. It's his recording school, like online courses, and they show you all kinds of tricks on how to get a good mix and nail it. So that definitely helped. And just asking other mixers questions and stuff like that. So that's a whole other beast by itself, is learning that kind of stuff. So I'd spend hours in front of my computer just downloading plugins, just messing with sounds. So
well, that's probably one of the best things that came out of COVID was, you know, the downtime that some people got to focus on, you know, further educating themselves and getting more hands-on experience on things that they didn't have time because they were out touring, doing whatever. So it definitely gave a lot of bands a lot of time to sit down and, you know, write that new album or whatever they needed to do. And it sounds like you definitely utilized that time very well and took advantage of it.
Well, I had to, because I don't like sitting around. I can't sit around. Like, I can't even, I was telling my wife this, I can't sit down and watch a movie during the day. I need to be doing something. I need to be. Like, I know people who can sit down and watch Netflix all day, and that's cool, but that's not, I got to be doing something. So, whether if it's writing a riff idea for Blacktop or myself, or reading up on mixing techniques, or learning a new scale, or whatever it is. I just think staying busy is important.
Yeah,
So
I guess
balance the two.
I'm sorry, what was that?
How do you balance the two? How do you balance, because your solos in Blacktop are badass, but they're still different. I mean, I hear a whole different feel in your own stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess as far as like Blacktop goes, like the note selection is a little bit different. It's a little bit more pentatonic, I should say. And just more, I guess, bluesier and not so dark minor. Like, for example, and this is guitar nerd talk, but like in my own stuff, I'll use a harmonic minor scale. It's a natural minor scale with a raised seventh. And I'll use that because it sounds a little bit darker sounding. Like Yngwie Malmsteen is notorious for using harmonic minors. So like I'll just, as far as Blacktop goes, it's not going to be so dark sounding. I mean, there's some solo, like Wicked Woman, my part in that song is a little bit more minor sounding, but it's because it fits the vibe of the song, and in context it fits. But as far as like a bluesier song, or like Rewind, I should say, I approach it differently. So it's kind of like you're an electrician or a plumber. You go in your toolbox. Okay, I can use this for this. I can use this wrench for that. Kind of look at it like that,
So
and with my stuff, I mean, there's not a bunch of money behind it. I don't have an investor. I'm not looking to take over the world with it. It's not going to radio. So really, I kind of just, for me, there's kind of no rules. I mean, there's rules, but not, you want it to be good, but you can kind of go outside the box a little bit,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's freedom of
Yeah.
doing what you want. And it's like there's no set of rules that, I have to follow this. This is my thing. I can do what I want.
And, it's a solo thing. It's like Trent Reznor, and it's like, or like Edsel Dope. It's me sitting in front of a computer, and, Blacktop's completely different because that's a real band. Like the band's in the room jamming, like, and there's 5 people who are, have black belts at what they do. And, it's 5 people, and producer, whereas me, it's just me. So I can, if I want to put this, dance beat in the bridge, I'll just, do it, if it sounds good. So.
that was a cool line. I've never heard that before. You said there was 5 black belts in what you do. That's awesome. That's
well,
cool. Yeah.
I wouldn't consider myself that, but yeah, no, everybody really is, consistent and really good, and we have a good time in the process too. So it's fun.
Yeah,
there's always a lot of laughing and jokes, which
the BTM, we've always talked about it. It's such a well-oiled machine. That band it's unreal. Their interaction, the playing, all the way to the management, it's just all so smooth, and everybody's really cool. And
yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with, we're all like in our 30s, and me and Nathan are the oldest ones in the band. We're both 35. And, it's not like we're 19, 20, 21 getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Egos. It's just, we're all a little bit older, got families, houses, renting, mortgages, all that stuff. And, it's, when you're a little bit more mature, when you're a little bit older. So.
Well, it's clearly a business for you. It's not just, hey, this is something for fun. This is how we eat and sleep, and this is what we do. So
and we take it seriously too. Like, we don't like to hit bad notes, and whenever I hit a bad note or something like that, I'm like, you kind of, because we all care, and there's no tracks going on our live show. Like there's
awesome.
There's like little samples like before the song Bed Tundi or like Wicked Woman that our sound guy Jack will put over the PA. But as far as like tracks or anything, it's just raw rock and roll. So
So when you guys played in Leesburg the last time, when you guys played the Void, the dueling solo at the end, we were standing off to the side, and Hop says, "That's some Leonard Skinner shit right there." It's become one of my favorites.
We me and Ryan Kiefer at the time. Now we got Malcolm, but him and I were really into like the duel, and me and Malcolm are too. But when we did that song, we just wanted to be like not something too technical, but just something just like a big epic harmonized kind of dual guitar thing. So we had a fun time doing that one. So
I think it's awesome. I love seeing that. I mean, I love seeing dueling guitar stuff, even if it's just something simple. Like I think it's Detroit Rock City with Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley. Even that little bit in there is just I just think it's awesome to hear.
So Chuck, on your stuff, I think you've got a fantastic voice, and I don't recall. I see Kat singing a lot of BTM backups, but I don't recall you singing a lot of backups there. And I think you've got a stellar voice.
Thank you.
Why are you holding back, brother?
Honestly, it's just something we haven't really touched. I have a little bit grittier of a voice, and it's not as clean as Matt or Kat's. So, it's more like the Rob Zombie, Pantera, James Hetfield kind of voice. So we haven't really gotten there yet. In the future, maybe. But, I mean, they handle it perfectly. So.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming to know the talent that's behind the scenes. I mean, as I've watched Kat, he's a pretty mean guitar player too, but he wails on a bass.
Yeah, so, he can play guitar really well. And even Joe Wilson, that's with us, our stage manager, drum tech, he's a great guitarist too, great drummer. I mean, so he'll get up and play acoustic on a couple songs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, make sure you tell the drummer that he busted my balls so bad about being a Niners fan that who's setting up to make a Super Bowl run. Man, he caught me.
I'll be sure to let him know. Speaking of football, me and the wife are going to watch the Packers today. Game's on at 7.
They're looking. Aaron's hungry right now.
Yeah. We've been kind of watching. It's kind of our thing every week. We'll go out to the local club and sports bar and just watch the game, and it's always a good time. I didn't really get into football until last year, so now.
Yeah, I just know. I told Wes I never seen that coming at all. I wasn't even prepared for it. He's back there busting my balls, and it's like I didn't even know what to say.
I'm not surprised.
So, Chuck, I don't know if Stringer Hop wrote this question, man. I'm going to ask it because it's something that I ask you about in a trade. I ask you, have you put all this out on album? And you told me the stuff that I didn't understand because I'm a slow guy at the Magic Show. Have you considered doing something? I feel like it would grow some legs with its quality stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of working towards that right now because we have a couple months off. So basically, I'm just trying to write as much as I can, and the process is a little bit longer because it's not. I mean, it's all me. So, I gotta. I have a mobile setup now, so I'm gonna work when I'm on the road on stuff, ideas, like a laptop setup, studio kind of thing. But I'd like to eventually do shows and stuff. Basically. Blacktop's going to be really busy, and that's always first priority for me. But we're going to be really busy this year. And I think when we have like a break next, I'll probably get a band together and do some shows. Because there's actually a pretty good rock and metal scene by me in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Or just the Midwest in general has a great rock and metal scene. So there's always opportunities for shows, showcases, and all that fun stuff.
Well, you know that you've got a few customers on this side of the
yes,
ready
I'm
to
signing up. And if
And
you
I'm
do get
guessing-
something together, you need to make sure you try to come down to Virginia or somewhere close where
Oh,
we can drive
absolutely.
up to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know Baltimore and DC kind of area is probably more, I guess, the more popular. We don't really have a music scene where we're at, so it's a 2-hour drive pretty much any direction we go
anywhere
to
we
see
go.
any show. So
That's
it's
that's how it was when I lived in Texas, when I lived in Palestine in town. The whole band at like one point lived there, but it's like you got Dallas, you got Houston, and Austin, which are all within a 2-3 hour radius. So you're kind of in the middle of everything, which is great, but you still got to get in the car and drive.
yeah.
But it's I mean, Texas is a huge state, so
Yeah.
it's like its own country. So
Yeah,
a
pretty
little
much.
bit more spread out.
What
So
do you
let's-
want? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
String.
I was going to say, I was going to get on to the song Turn Away. You do a little bit of flamenco style guitar playing in that song. Is that something like you're really into? I mean, would you like to do more of that? Because I thought it was a pretty kick-ass little part of that song. It kind of changed it up a lot. And
yeah, I'm actually working on a new one that has something like that in it. I usually in the morning when I'm sipping coffee, I'll pick up the Spanish guitar, the flamenco nylon string guitar, and I'll just do scales with the metronome. I'll have it on. It's a great way to warm up. I kind of relate it to like, a batter, with the weights on, getting ready to swing. It's kind of like that. When you pick up the electric, it's like, you're flying all over the place because you're used to working a little bit harder, tensing up a little bit more, especially with the right hand picking and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I love playing Spanish guitar.
I know when we saw I just found this out the other day, but I saw Vince Neil had Stevie Stevens on guitar, and he did a whole solo on flamenco, and I never knew why he decided to do that for because it's a rock show, but he had said when they toured with Van Halen, he said Eddie pretty much owned the finger tapping thing. So that was how he come about with the flamenco solo, and how I guess he kind of stumbled onto that and got into that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that guy's a monster player.
Yeah.
And that album he did with Vince Neil is awesome. Like Sister of Pain, that song is a jam.
Yeah, he was something else live. I was so glad I got to see him. Vince, but seeing Stevie Stevens was, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. He's a great writer too. So
yeah, and you listen to that Billy Idol stuff. I know back in the day, you're a lot younger than I am, but I know when the Billy Idol stuff come out, we remember the songs, but it was years later I realized, holy shit, that guy can play.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a shredder, man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to touch that while you're talking about shredding there. Like I was watching a couple of your playthroughs last night, and I'm like, holy shit, like this dude's just all over the place. And it's like it flows so well. But I mean, it's cool to see, when you hear, because all the songs that you have, they're just more like audio tracks on the YouTube. So when I can actually watch you play something, it's almost like being at a show. You stand there and like you're in awe, like holy cow. So it's cool that you do those playthroughs, and it kind of gives the audience, a good representation and like what they're missing if they're not coming to the show.
Yeah, and that just all comes down to I just like to stay busy, put out content when I can, and I'm still getting used to putting out like lots of content because that's kind of the future. Like, TikTok's a big thing, and I'm really new to it. I'm kind of learning the ropes of that. Because a lot of musicians are getting really known over TikTok. But back to the whole playthrough thing, like I said, it's just more content to put out there, and it's something for me to do. So,
well, I enjoyed watching them. They were awesome.
I mean, Chuck, to that point, I mean, the visibility, we've talked a lot. We're big 80s hair band fans and so on, and how the labels kind of owned it and they had to push you, and the opportunities for you guys to be so visible through your own channels is just so cool today. And I know it still takes a whole lot and so on, but
yeah,
we're just thrilled to see you do it.
It's a way different world these days. Everything's really accessible. I mean, you can, right now, if I want, I can put out a song tomorrow on all streaming platforms. You just register and you with a distribution company. It's that simple. there's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, everything. All the tools are out there. It's just a matter of, learning marketing and, getting your product out there. So.
Well, and we've talked a couple times with Dallas Dwight from the LA Maybe, and you guys have the same PR guy and so on.
Tom George. Yep.
Dallas Dwight, he does all the mixing and stuff for the whole band in his apartment, and it's just fantastic.
I didn't know that. I talked to him over Facebook months ago. But no, I really like their stuff, and I didn't know that they mix it themselves. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the more I've interacted with him, the more I think what a fantastic guy.
I mean, he's a stand-up guy too.
Yeah, a very hard-working band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great band for sure.
Wes, we got a question, don't we?
Yep, right there on the screen from Jason Kotecki. Jason and his wife are big supporters of you guys.
What's up, Jason? Shout out to Jason.
He asks, are there any new songs with you and Kelly in the works?
Absolutely. Yep. We're always working on stuff. She's had a pretty crazy schedule lately and stuff, but yeah, there's definitely more stuff coming out for sure.
So is your plan to release a full album eventually, or are you just gonna continue with just releasing songs?
Yeah, definitely want to do a full album. Not on this break, but the next break we have from Blacktop, I'm definitely gonna get an album together. So
is it gonna be new music, or is it gonna be added onto these songs?
All new music probably. And maybe try to do some shows.
Cool.
Get like 3 other guys together, another guitar player, bass player, and a drummer. It'd be nice to have a keyboard player to do all that synth stuff live,
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely going to be a record in the near future.
So I'm going to ask this as kind of like I know you said you kind of buy your time when you can, you started, doing what you can for your solo stuff. But as far as, do you have like songs written ahead of time that you kind of work on song by song, or do you just kind of work on the song itself, and then after you get that one done, then work on writing another song?
Well, what I'll do is, like I said before, I'll pick up my Spanish guitar or my nylon string guitar in the morning, and I'll mess with riffs. And if I think it's like a cool idea for Blacktop, then I'll send it off. And if I think it's something more geared towards my solo stuff, then I'll go to my studio space downtown Waukesha and lay it down, mess with some vocals, some drums, and just kind of play around with it. And sometimes it doesn't turn out the greatest, you got to move on, but
yeah,
it usually starts with just like a guitar riff or like a vocal hook for the chorus. So, because you got to have a good chorus or something that's memorable. So,
yeah,
definitely so.
I noticed you play a Dean, and I guess we was wondering about your influences. Are you a Dimebag fan? Is that what drawed you to the Dean, or?
I'm a huge Dime fan, but the reason why I play a Dean V is because of Michael Schenker.
All right, not a bad gig there, neither.
I'm a big MSG fan. I love his playing. I love his V. He's a freaking legend, man. But yeah, he's the reason why I play Deans. But yeah, I am a huge Dimebag fan. Who isn't?
This is true.
Yeah. Who are some of your other influences as far as guitarist wise?
Zach Wild. Love Zach Wild's playing. I like Slash. Yeah, there you go. I like Randy Rhoads. I like Slash. Steve Stevens, definitely. And another new influence of mine is, he's been around forever, Neil Sean.
Yeah.
I really started getting into his playing in the last couple of years because he'll post like playthrough videos on Facebook. And he's just a kill. He can do everything. Writing, shredding, playing melodic.
Well, I think Steve Perry had such an incredible voice that I think maybe that's why Neil didn't stick out as much. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, the solo in Separate Ways, that's pure shredding, like alternate picking, a million miles per hour. I'm like, this guy's he's a beast. So
yeah, they were something else.
Totally. So,
Well, go ahead.
Look, you want to go ahead and ask him about? We got I guess we'll ask you about touring, favorite things about touring, and least favorite things about touring. And if you got any cool stories, because what was it? Austin told us a story about the grocery cart and the fireworks.
Oh, the back at the tour bus, like the barbecuing or something, that fireworks were going off.
We were in Gallup, New Mexico. I think that's what it was, Gallup, New Mexico. And the venue was really cool. They didn't serve alcohol or anything, but people brought in, like, it was like BYOB. People brought in cases of beer, probably a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, it was a killer show. Great people, great town. And after the show, they were, I wasn't back there. I was on the bus, but they were in the back grilling the people from the venue. And one of them had fireworks. And Dot, or I call him Dot, Austin, he could probably explain this better than me. But they ended up setting off a bunch of fireworks. And I'm like, oh, man, now the cops are going to come. And I'm like, I want nothing to do with this. Like, I'm on tour. Like, yeah, that was quite something. But and there's a lot of stories. And we're pretty mellow. I mean, we kind of stick to ourselves. And
no big debauchery.
Nah.
No snorting ants or anything.
We'll have, if it's a good night after a show, we'll have a couple drinks and, listen to music, or the guys will play poker. I'm not a poker player, but they'll get the poker table out and play poker, or sometimes we'll watch movies, but that's pretty much it, which is nice. I mean,
yeah, it's
nice and mellow usually. We'll have a breakdown once in a while, or we'll blow a tire. Usually on days off, we'll just, find like a mall or something, or like a restaurant and hang out at. But no crazy stuff really.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
So realistically, that ties back to, we're in our 30s and this is our job. We're not in our 20s, and
yeah, and it's just not. It's not Motley Crue in the 80s anymore.
Yeah.
You gotta be a little bit more serious, and take care of yourself and as good as you can, and make sure you can put on a good show.
Vince took care of himself really well.
People pay to go in and see you. They pay money for tickets and VIP. You got to deliver, otherwise it's not fair. So,
like we said, at the end of the day, you have to do your job in order to pay the bills. And if you're out there goofing off and doing, dumb stuff after the show, whatnot, and hurt yourself, well, then you end up in the hospital. You got more bills, and then you can't play. So then, you're not paying the bills again. So
and we'll play with like bands at festivals, but for the most part, that stuff still goes on, but it's not really as common as it used to be.
Yeah.
Like we've played festivals with all kinds of bands of all different sizes, and I've never really seen anything too crazy, to be honest. Everybody's pretty much doing their thing, sticking to what they need to do, at least from what I've seen. Who knows? But
I mean, good on you. It takes a hell of a lot of energy to show up and make sure that people are connected, and that's what makes people love you.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a job that needs to be done at the end of the day, and you got to deliver, and no excuses. And but it's fun. So
well, and I think the interaction that you guys have with the fans makes for a lot more memories, and those memories get shared with friends, and it creates a bigger family in the end, and it just makes the family grow. So
absolutely, it's all about the fans. We love hanging out with the fans. Every show we play, after the show, we'll go on the bus and change and go back in, go into the bar wherever by the merch area and hang. We love doing that. And speaking of that, on Shiprocked, we played Shiprock this last year, and I had more fun hanging out with the fans than I did watching the other bands, which there are some killer bands. I mean, but it's like I had fun hanging out with the people and everything like that. So,
well, that's what was cool about going to see y'all with Buck Cherry. Was Wes was back there? Like, who's he talking to? So I kind of stumble on over there, and it's kind of like everything's just chilled, and it was like that was fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Chuck, I'm their designated driver in all this. I got all the I was never an alcoholic because I didn't go to meetings, right? That was the only separation at that stage in life. I
Fair
learned
enough.
years ago. But that's done. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun show. And you know, it was a fun tour, you know, with Buck Cherry. Pretty cool guys, and we love their
Yeah.
crew.
You won't be able to say this, and I get it, and I wouldn't expect you to, but I'll say it. I was there for one reason and one reason only, and it was you guys.
Well, thank you, man.
And if it wasn't chatting with you afterward, I was ready to hit the door and be on the way because we live about 2 hours from there. I had zero interest in seeing some crackhead wearing skinny jeans and a scarf. That just is not my thing. So that couldn't sing well either. So
Nah, they're good guys, and you know, it was cool of them to take us out and everything like that. And they still, I mean, they still got a career. They're still drawing people, still, and that's awesome for them, man. So
yeah, and kudos to them for it. I mean, I'm very critical, but at the end of the day, you all delivered, and I was far less than impressed with their delivery. So that's yeah. I'm not trying to put you in a bad spot. Blame Wes. It's okay.
No, there's some talent in that band though. Like drummer Francis, he reminds me of Vinnie Paul so much. Super tight player. He's always fun to watch. So and Kelly, their bass player, he's been around a while. He's like a shredder bass player. He's great too. He did a bunch of shrapnel stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s. So it was always fun, like picking his brain on all that stuff, like Paul Gilbert, and you know, because I think he played on like a Paul Gilbert record or something like that. He told me. So I was kind of like the fanboy, like, hey, how was this in the studio like that, you know? So
I say no shame in that game. Paul Gilbert.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I ask about and I guess Hop and String as well, we ask about hey, are you putting out an album and so on? You can look behind Hop and see both of these guys are collectors. I've got a minuscule.
Yeah. Years and years.
When we ask about that, our hope is that whether it's somebody watching this live or whatever, they connect with you directly because we understand the music game. Amazon's great, but you don't make no money off that. And that's why I'm saying, hey, the VIP stuff, I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen because that funds you guys specifically and you deliver in those things. So
that's really where the money's at, or how artists make their money is on tour, merchandise, VIPs, anything that has to do with that. Because these days it's just there's not really much money in streaming and stuff like that. And, you know, you can get 1 million streams on Spotify, but that's not going to pay your bills, you know? Yep. So, and when I put out my own stuff, I'm not expecting to make a profit. It's just a hobby for me, really, you know? And also too, I want to plug this. I have a studio downtown Waukesha. It's called Guitar for Life Studio. I'm offering lessons, in-person lessons, and remote lessons, and, you know, production and stuff for bands that want to come in, bands of any kind, or artists that want to record and get a decent product out. So, I definitely have my hands tied. So,
well, that's good to have, you know, when you put yourself out there and, you know, when you're teaching and you got avenues that you can explore if something happens down the road and you're not able to go on tour anymore.
Yeah.
A backup plan is always good to have. And it sounds like you got at least a good start on that. And, you know, but you could definitely take that to pretty much any level you want.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I like teaching too, you know. I always, whenever I get like a new student, I'll just ask them right away, what are your goals? What do you want to play? You know, instead of just whipping out like a book of basic theory, it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to learn this Randy Rhoads lick? Cool, let's do that. You want to learn this Matchbox 20 song? Cool, we'll tackle that. You know, that's my approach.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different approach and curriculum, but I'm just kind of like, hey, what do you want to do? You know?
Yeah. Well, and I feel also that a lot of the bands that kind of suffered, I'm going to say, through COVID, you know, they didn't have a backup plan. You know, they went out and the only thing was they tour. You know, they don't think about the future. And, you know, and some of those guys are into their 50s and 60s and still look at just making money touring and you know, if something ever happens, it's kind of shit on them, you know, because, you know, it's kind of their fault. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's always good. It's always good to have multiple stuff going on.
yeah. I mean, I know it can be hectic at times and make for a crazy life, but if you can definitely handle that, it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with like the internet and everything like that, you can market yourself. The possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So what's the best way somebody can reach out to you for, whether it's lessons, recording, whatever that is?
Through my Facebook like page or just my personal page. Send me a message.
Cool.
Pretty chill.
And I'll vouch for you that you're super responsive. That's what I've always respected and appreciated, because, gosh, I'm just some groupie. I didn't show you anything like flashy or nothing, but which is probably why you respond, right? Because but
I don't get any funky DMs, which is good.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's a lot of funky people out there. So
I'm married pretty much, so I don't, you know, I steer clear, you know.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, gosh, well, guys, anything else?
No, I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, nothing I can think of right offhand. I'm sure once we get off here, I'm thinking, oh man, I should have asked him this or should have asked him that. But
Well, I'm pretty stoked about Fredericksburg now since Wes
Yeah.
put it in my ear last night. So
yeah, and I didn't make it to the last show. I think I had something else going on, and I just didn't make it to that one. But I'm definitely wanting to catch you guys out on the road this year, and so hopefully I can make that, and I'll do the VIP thing,
Nice.
hang out with you guys, and
we've had a pretty nice break, time with our families. A couple of the guys had children recently, so it was good for everybody to kind of get a break. But you know, we're all looking forward to getting back out there.
Now, I've seen some stuff where Matt's posted about being in the studio. Does that lend itself to some new music coming out with you guys? Do you have a new album?
Oh yeah, we're always working on stuff. Matt will work with our producer Phil on things. He's got a home studio too. Everybody just kind of works on ideas by themselves. So, and then we're on an email thread. We'll email each other ideas and stuff. So it's the beauty of technology. I live 1,000 miles away from those guys, but I can still send ideas and in work and everything like that. And gotta love the internet.
oh yes, gotta love the future.
Yeah.
And that's been something really impressive too. I mean, the music's tight, and to watch you guys play together and knowing that you're at the top and the bottom of the country, right? So
and also too, because like 5 years ago, when I first joined the band, I ended up moving there after the first couple tours, just because I needed a change, and also too, I wanted to be closer to the band and everything like that. And then you know, when people started having kids and stuff like that, everybody kind of, you know, scattered around. And my family's from here. My wife's family's from here. So we just, you know, kind of made our way back. But as far as playing tight and everything goes as a unit, you know, the 4 or 5 years of touring, crazy touring, you can hop right back into it, you know. Like before a tour, I'll just kind of rehearse on my own, and everything will kind of come back, and then show up and play the show, and we're good. So cool. At least we think.
Yo, you got me fooled. So
yeah. We'll vouch for you. It's solid. We enjoy it a bunch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But so it's not like, you know, because if you don't tour for like a long time, like a couple years, and then you get back to it, I can see it being kind of loose. But with us, you know, like when we come back, like before the Non-Point tour, I'll definitely get down in my studio space and rehearse and make sure everything's good to go. And the other guys do the same. So
yeah, I think I told you up there, it's really cool to watch. I mean, you and Ryan had a really good blend, and you and Malcolm have a really good blend too, where it's just a real. I've told Hop and String this. It's almost like the Tommy and Frankie Tesla mix, where one's a little bit more bluesy, one's a little bit more technical. And it's a solid mix. I've always appreciated seeing that.
Thanks. And yeah, I mean, with me and Malcolm, you know, me and Kiefer had a good chemistry, and me and Malcolm do as well. And there's like, for example, the song Jealousy, that clean guitar acoustic riff in there. Well, Malcolm's more of a finger picker than I am. And I've been kind of learning it and getting better at it, but that's his forte. So I'm like, hey, Malcolm, just take that. Like, you got it, buddy.
Yeah, you got this.
Because he's good at that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of how we roll.
Yeah, it's impressive. So
yeah, well, it makes for a good interaction when you got.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit better at this, and he's a little bit better at this, and you kind of feed off each other, and
I mean, you got to have a good team if you do it. So,
indeed,
absolutely.
Solid. Well, yeah. If you'll hang on, we'll kill the live feed. If you'll hang on, we'll chat through a couple of details and
absolutely.
Yeah. So everybody watching or everybody that sees this live or the recording later on, appreciate you tuning in. Check out Chuck's solo stuff; it's just killer. And be sure to check out Blacktop Mojo and do the VIPs. So
yes,
yeah. With all that said, fellas, we'll call this one done. Here we go.
And thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Chuck, for hanging out with us.
Guys.
Top metal.